Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for middle market companies, their investors, and management teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, August 24th, 2026, and while summer is rapidly coming to a close, there's no shortage of things to be on the lookout for as we head into fall. This week, a bit of a look back and a bit of a look ahead, which is, I think, really how we're going to end up having to run things anymore in this new reality. Regular watchers of this show will no doubt know that we've covered the great AI sandbox escape of 2026 in some level of depth here over the past few weeks. What we learned last week, however, was that there was a common denominator in these events in the form of a company called Irregular. If, like me, you struggle to keep up with all of these silly AI company names, don't despair. We will cover the essentials here. Irregular is a company that provides evaluation environments, e.g. sandboxes, for other AI companies. And in a post on their site entitled, quote, "Addressing Recent Incidents, Ongoing Findings, and Path Forward," they note that the public disclosures all refer to the same underlying issue first disclosed by one of our customers on July 30th, that customer being Anthropic, quote, "and are not materially separate incidents," unquote. They think the issue originated from a single evaluation scenario. They also note that they feel it was resolved before the initial public disclosure, i.e. before Anthropic broke the news. And they say there are, quote, "no active issues today," unquote. They go on in this post to note that it's really just something that we've mentioned on this channel quite a few times before, and that is unintended consequences. They say, quote, "At the time the evaluation was designed, we believed the fictional company name used in the environment did not correspond to any real entity. Due to human oversight, however, it unintentionally coincided with a real domain, leading models to consider taking offensive action against it in a small fraction of cases. In one instance, a model also veered off to a different site with a somewhat similar name, where it encountered credentials that had been posted publicly," unquote. Others in this space have taken a more skeptical view of Irregular's framing here, with one AI security leader calling it, quote, "full of excuses," which I think could be a fair framing since this represents essentially a core failure of the service this company was providing, which again is that secure internet segmented sandbox to do evaluation work. But I do think it's worth noting the details of the scenario that they were evaluating, which they say is, quote, "whether a model could assist a malicious employee at a medium-sized company in gaining unauthorized access to sensitive data in a production database. That seems like a threat model worth exploring as you look at your own security, your own usage of AI, and either malicious or complicit employees with access to these tools." I also think it's worth thinking through the fact that we're going to continue to see these kind of so-called concentration risks moving forward, especially when so many models, functions, and companies rely on a very limited set of partners. Beyond this particular example from Irregular, we also saw last week an AI supply chain attack against a widely used AI proxy gateway called LiteLLM. Analysis of this breach indicates it didn't even begin with that particular tool, but rather with another pipeline component scanner called Trivy, which is also very widely used. And it was not exposed for very long, less than an hour. But again, hundreds of gigabytes of data extracted, including keys from large players, including Amazon and others. Again, I think a real challenge for defending against these things. Luckily, the counter to this concentration risk is that we're also going to see an increase in the ability to defend, with both OpenAI and Anthropic releasing new agentic security capabilities in the last week, using these models, particularly in an antagonistic way, where if you have Claude help write the code, you can use OpenAI's model to help find the vulnerabilities, or vice versa, will give you at least a fighting chance, but you've got to put yourself in a position to benefit from these tools. I think that's the larger picture here, is that while there's risk involved, certainly there's also tremendous value to be captured. And the challenge, our work as defenders, is going to be keeping down that level of risk to a level that we can accept, while capturing an amount and type of value that is actually worth it to your organization, not just burning tokens for token's sake, but really moving the needle. That's going to be the core and ongoing challenge for the foreseeable future. And we are here for it because we have to be. We are in it together. We don't have any other choice at this point. From a fundraising perspective, numbers are notably lower this week, with $3.1 billion in newly committed capital, but spread over a fair number of smaller fundraising announcements. In fact, nothing over $1 billion this week, which marks quite a change in the past month or so's big run of numbers. As a reminder, we're still sitting in Q3 with a little over a month to go at a $178 billion for the quarter. We're likely to exceed Q2's 180 and change billion dollar number here in the next week or so, certainly by the time we get to September. So on track to continue to put that money to work and put it back into some of these conversations that we have week in and week out. A reminder, you can find links to all the articles we covered in the comments section below, back issues and written transcripts of these videos at intentionalcyber.com, and we will see you next week for another edition of the Intentional Brief.